Get more people in here.
Sports, when you've got a great ball club. Sports, when you're leaving it all on the field. Sports, you like your team's chances. Sports, to survive and advance in sports. For the teams you love and the teams you love to hate. Oh, it's Sports Channel 8. Yeah. Sports Channel 8. Hey! Hey! Hey!
Sports Channel 8 streaming, coming at you on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Hop on Facebook or YouTube if you want to comment along, ask questions. Just have your mind blown by Duke UNC in the Final Four. It is Sports Channel 8, the streaming and podcast brought to you by Movement Mortgage. Don't waste time trying to spend your money getting Duke UNC tickets. Go ahead and put it down on a house. That's a smarter investment. Plus, they're way expensive right now. I already looked. It happened this weekend. We've never seen it happen before. It finally did. It shocked the world. Everyone is talking about it. Will Smith smacked Chris Rock. We are here to break it all down. Now, it's Duke UNC in the Final Four, and I believe Mrs. Moose just made a slight cameo there in the box screen. Now, I see her again in the kitchen. You must be upstairs because I can see the kitchen in the background. But it's crazy. I don't even know where to start with it, but we'll go with what did you learn this weekend around the horn to introduce everybody. Josh Goodson, what did you learn this week? I don't know why I'm starting with you. What did you learn?
I've been polling a lot of people over the last couple of days and such, and I learned that UNC fans have been going through it the last 5 years. Outside of winning a title, being a 1 seed just 3 years ago, their worst team ever, not missing the tournament because COVID canceled the tournament, to this year where it's a Cinderella story, and it's really, really, really good to see an upstart, plucky underdog. Didn't think they could be here. Didn't think they could do that and make it all the way to the Final Four. Who was going to play Hubert Davis in the movie?
Probably either somebody that slapped somebody or somebody that got slapped or somebody that advised a slapper last night. Those are your candidates.
No, what I learned this weekend is I don't hate UNC. I don't hate UNC the team. I hate UNC the fans.
I think that's a common mantra among people. The games were so good this weekend. We got a Monday BG just in here to talk about the Hornets rolling. All right, Swain, what'd you learn this weekend?
I think that's the thing, right? Is that we don't know who's going to play Hubert, but we know that Jada's going to play Shaheen Holloway because of the haircut, right?
Wait, I thought we can't do the haircut jokes now. Yeah. Now we know it's about a condition. We can't do that. I don't know if you do that.
I'm peeking at my front door just to make sure nobody barges in here.
No.
I did. I learned. What did I learn? I learned that having a team that gets put against every round is not as much of a Cinderella story as a team that gets picked to win every game, every round. I learned that this weekend.
That is correct. Yeah. Weather Moose, what'd you learn this weekend?
I learned that I have all the qualifications to be the new assistant men's basketball coach at NC State. If for nothing else, that I've coached youth sports for nearly a decade now, per Mark. Yeah. I have experience with unorthodox tactics, such as donkey basketball. We've got to get butts in the seats at PNC Arena. If you've been to games recently, as Josh Goodson can attest, nobody's going, baby, because they freaking suck. And we've got to get people back in, get an influx of cash back into that program so we can start paying some players to come win some games, baby.
Also, Moose, they're going to have to fill out the roster one way or the other next season. Yep. And how many people are set to leave. So they may need to go get some actual farm animals to come.
Right. Absolutely.
Grab some donkeys. I do. Well, I wanted to read those requirements some more.
Yeah, I was reading that. I was trying to see if there's anything about compliance in there.
Absolutely not. Absolutely
not. Here we go.
I will say minimum of 3 years experience playing or coaching. So
Yeah.
that
Interfaces with officials. I like that one.
Boom. On it.
interfaces with officials.
He can be mad with the best of them.
Yeah.
Yep. Participates in clinics, exhibitions, and camps. Yeah, come on.
Is there anything about offensive ingenuity or
Nope.
creativity? No.
But we have ice cream recommendations for every ACC road city.
Oh, listen, look at this. Number 10, participates in public relations activities as needed to include granting interviews with newspaper, radio, and television media, attending press conferences, and making public appearances. I think we fit in there somewhere.
This is my favorite one. Attends coaches' meetings, develops and implements strategies resulting from these meetings.
All right.
I don't think they had a single coaches' meeting all year last year.
We'll see who it ends up being.
My favorite is that it's a 9 to 5 job.
Yep.
Some nights and weekends, but mostly it's just a 9 to 5 job. And it's like September to March.
Oh, you don't even need a valid NC driver's license. Look at that.
No.
It's gonna be hard to recruit without that. But
all right, and no, they'll take
Scroll down. I saw something that's going to disqualify Moose.
Where?
Go up. There we go. He's going to have to work in adverse weather.
Yep. It might be a non-starter.
Yeah. Scroll down a little bit more. There was one. Go slow. A little bit more. Yeah, I like these. How did you learn about this opportunity? Monster.com.
Yeah.
I was on Monster.com, updating my resume, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to take a shot at the NC State assistant coaching job.
Yeah.
What's more dated in this application? Them referring to newspapers or them suggesting that you got here via monster.com?
Or a career fair.
Yeah.
Or radio, television advertisement. Like somebody could learn about the opening on this show right now and apply for the job and get it. So if you're
I like career fair
for that. By the
career
way,
fair, you're standing there. It looks like the science fair. Everybody's standing in front of their trifold to show you, like, here, take a pamphlet. Work at my summer kids camp. Like, hey, work at the NC State assistant coach.
No, I love that. I definitely at some point when I was in undergrad at State went to a job fair at the McKimmon Center.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I love the thought of like Keats and like Boo Corrigan being like in the McKimmon Center with like a triptych, being like, with like pamphlets to come be an assistant coach for NC State basketball. You may only have this job for a year, so we suggest that you rent, not buy, if you take this job too.
All right, let's talk about some teams.
Whoa. We don't talk about renting on this show, BG.
That's true. Good point. It's a good point. Forgive me.
Brian Geisinger, what did you learn this weekend?
Well, a couple of things. I just think the way the pieces on Duke's roster are fitting together is really like, it's been like this for a while now, but I think they kind of found a new level of like guys really settling into roles. I think like Jeremy Roach playing how he did with the basketball, that helps a lot. And then all of a sudden you've got, he and Bencaro as like the two main playmakers, Griffin as like the sniper around the perimeter, Mark Williams as the lob threat, Wendell Moore as like the guy that moves and cuts without the basketball, and Trevor Keels is like the wild card X factor type, guy off the bench that can also come in and play with the basketball and can give you some defense too. So it's just, I think right now,
Joey Baker keeping his warm-up shirt on.
He learned his role very well.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. We did get a wild Bates Jones sighting against Texas Tech where he came
and it did not go well.
2 threes in the span of one possession. It was like, dude, this is
got dunked on. Yeah, you missed 2 threes and got dunked on in the span of 30
It's like
seconds.
maybe not your role. And then, Theo John just to be like big and strong. But I don't know. I think Duke they have elite talent, but I think those guys right now are playing better than the sum of their parts on offense at the moment. And then the other thing I learned too, big win for the Hornets last night, by the way. They're tied with Brooklyn, but they got the tiebreaker over the Nets last night. That's big for Eastern Conference play-in seeding. And for a team like Brooklyn that's trying to win the title, just like a lot of minutes with like a bunch of small guards out on the court at the same time. So Seth Curry, Goran Dragic, Kyrie Irving in his first home game of the season, who played terribly. And the Hornets kind of picked at that. So I don't know that if people are thinking about the Nets as making a deep playoff run, there are probably some reasons for concern unless Ben Simmons comes back and give him some defense.
LaMelo Ball still nasty. He would have been fun to watch in March
He went
Madness.
off last night, dude.
7 threes, I think.
Off last night. What?
7 threes, was that right?
7 threes, and like 2 or 3 of them were just like, yeah, they were.
He's nasty.
Wait, so did he get Employee of the Week?
He should, yes. After
Okay.
last night, he definitely got. He actually had several very good games.
I will fully admit I laugh every time LeVar shows up in that.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
The Bates Jones threes kind of reminded me of we may talk a little bit about Miami, Kansas, but then that second half, in the midst of Miami's meltdown, there was that one dude that came off the bench for Miami that
Poplar.
They were leaving wide open, and he was like, "It's my time to shine," and everybody was like, "Dude, it is not your time to shine.
Yeah,
it is your time to eat minutes and foul some people."
Yeah, it's like tough though, because it's like they are leaving him wide open, and so
I know.
It's like he probably shouldn't shoot, but it's like then you gotta like I don't know, go into a dribble handoff with somebody. There's got to be a way you can like punish the team for being like, we're literally not guarding you.
Yeah,
you know?
I could have had some advice for him. I'm very used to this phenomena in pickup basketball. I have some places I could punish you, but like generally outside of 8 feet with the ball in my hand, you don't have to get too tight up on me. Unless you're trying to prevent passing lanes. All right, well, I do want to hit on Miami, Kansas, but let's talk about the topic on the forefront of everyone's mind.
Pat Narduzzi.
Is
defense ain't going nowhere.
Pat Narduzzi is bringing the Pitt defense to the rest of the Coastal. You guys talk about having to play Clemson in the Atlantic, and nobody ever talks about having to batter your head against the wall that is the Pitt defense over and over. Pat Narduzzi, still for 2030. Now, is there a little bit of, obviously
2030?
2030, I think they extended it.
What the? I actually don't care, but that's a ridiculous extension, though. I definitely don't care, but that's absurd. Also,
you can read about it on ACCSports.com later today.
Actually,
Brian guys, you guys the update up there. Yeah. All right, everybody, am I overhyping?
Yes, you are. You are.
The Armageddon side of this. Like it's still a basketball game. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Someone's going to win and their fan base is going to be, great. Somebody's going to lose and their fan base is going to be in the doldrums. But like, they're going to play twice again next year, and it'll be probably mostly new guys, and life will go on, right? Like we're putting a little too much, and guilty too. I'll put it in all my headlines. We'll do jokes about it or whatever. But like, it's a little bit overblown. It's a Final Four basketball game.
Wait, are you downplaying this game and that UNC might lose? Is this what's happening already? It's Monday, for God's sakes. Like, come on, you're not supposed to do that till like Friday night.
No, we've already seen it, Goodson. We've already seen all the house money takes that started yesterday about this lucky team came.
This is just a basketball game.
Yeah.
Like, I love that. I love that.
No matter what happens, no, it doesn't work that way.
All right, well, so then how do you assess this game? It's the biggest game of all time, and the loser has to leave college basketball?
No, I assess it the same way that I've assessed UNC fans and their stupid ass mentality.
I'm not asking you to assess UNC
You
fans.
are North Carolina. You don't get to the Final Four, and you're like, shit, that's a moral victory right there. No matter what, you win championships. That is what you're there to do. You are freaking North Carolina. That's what I'm talking about. Like,
I agree.
Go try to win the championship. Don't worry about Coach K's last game, or if we don't win, it's a freaking moral victory. Go win the championship. Go win the championship. That's all I'm asking for. But yeah, to your point, next year is next year. It's over. Like, this isn't going to end the rivalry.
Yeah.
Like, Duke.
That's the talk I'm talking about.
Duke already played Maryland, which was their most intense rival in ever, according to Maryland fans. So and Maryland left the conference. So I guess maybe you're right. Maybe whoever loses this game has to leave the conference.
Should be gone.
Yeah, I think everyone's brains got broken after the UNC win in Cameron. Like, the collective IQ of this region just dropped for a couple of weeks, and like I feel like we were maybe getting it back up there. It was being restored a little bit. But now this is going to happen, and everyone's just going to get really dumb again for like the next 2-3 weeks. So that's a little disappointing. But I think part of it is it's like UNC fans had such a good time winning at Cameron, understandably so, and that was such a feel good. That was such a feel good, and it seemed like the perfect, like the ideal coda for them heading into like the the end of the Krzyzewski era at Duke. And I think now, beyond just like the season ending or a loss, I'm guessing a lot of people in the fan base don't want that feel good from a couple of weeks. They were hoping that would last forever. And I think it still can. Like, that's still an incredible victory. It will always be K's last game in Cameron, the last game during the regular season against UNC, etc. But I do think there's some people that are trying to guard against like all of the tweets that got sent out, all of the beers that got consumed after that Saturday night, like all of the texts, all of the Slack messages, like all of that. And I think there are people that are worried about that now coming back at them. And so that's why you have to like couch it as like, look, this is a win-win situation for us no matter what. Like, no, you're in the Final Four.
And you're good. And you're good. It's not like they are shooting their brains out like they're on this ridiculous hot streak. It's not like they're
win 2 games.
Do what?
They could win 2 games.
Yeah. Of course they can.
And even that Duke game that we've talked about, if Duke didn't play bad that game, they didn't play great the last 3 or 4 minutes. UNC played that was actually a good basketball game for the most part. And when you left watching that game, it was weird then when all the UNC fans being like, we had no chance to win this game, when in reality it's like you did, and you actually went and won it. And now we're having the same conversation again, like house money, no chance, we're not supposed to be here. It's like, yes, you should. You're good. Yeah. Embrace being good. It's okay.
And if you are a UNC fan, you've got to embrace that you have whatever, Duke will probably be fair. What Duke's favored by 3 points?
Like 3 or 4 points.
It's a 49-51 coin flip game, or 48-52, right? That means you got a 48% chance of being like K's last game and winning in the Final Four. Like you take that every time if you're a real fan, right? Like you take your shot, And also, again, like this is the thing I can't get about fans too. It's like you're just a fan. Like what at the end of it, like if you lose, what like your life doesn't change. You have to hear from Duke fans more now, or like K's gonna haunt your dreams, like like a horror, like it's just so dumb. Like you got to want to play this game, and I think it'll be cool. I think something that Swain said last week is humongous to me, because I still I can't remember if it was after Duke had won a game, and so we had 3 games that we still needed to make it happen. So it still seemed like it's kind of far away. It sucks that this is the semifinal game.
Yeah, not Monday night. Yeah.
And whoever wins this is going to have to go play freaking Kansas, and they're going to be steamrolling and good because they're going to be, a handicapped Villanova team now. And it just sucks that the emotional, the physical, everything is going to be a let down from Saturday night. That's
it's kind of amazing that UNC didn't end up with like the Villanova Final Four matchup too. You know what I mean? Like getting like the hampered team or whatever with a chance to go to the championship.
Oh yeah.
The best player,
Yes, but
here's the very simple. I'll just throw this out there. The very simple way to survive this week is to focus on the accomplishment of your own team, right?
Yeah,
like that's the way to survive this week. Both teams have had it is hard as hell to make a Final Four, right? Like it's hard to make a Final Four, regardless of who you play against. It is hard to make a Final Four. From the Duke point of view, because I didn't pay much attention to Carolina. From the Duke point of view, they had a hard-ass path to get there, right? Like you think back to other Final Fours that they've made, and they've definitely played good teams along the way there, but like there's never been a tournament that I remember that everyone was so adamant that Duke was not going to win second game, third game, fourth game, right? Like even before the tournament, I think only 13% of brackets had Duke in the Final Four is what ESPN put out yesterday or something like that. That is ridiculous that so many were so sure that Duke was not going to make it there. And they did. They made it. That's an accomplishment. Be happy about that. Your team has a chance to win a championship. Focus on that. Don't worry about who's on the other end of the court. And both fan bases, if you can accomplish that this week, you're going to survive and you're going to be happy and you're going to enjoy the entire experience. If you don't, you're going to be miserable. And that's how it goes.
There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be miserable.
They're going to choose to be miserable.
I do love the thought of to this point that Hayes was bringing up a couple minutes ago of is Kay going to haunt your dreams or whatever for the rest of eternity? It's like the thought of this 75-year-old Polish man who's going to spend the next 15 years of his life gardening and not thinking about this. That's going to be the specter that hangs over the rest of your fan life is just it's a hilarious thought.
To pick up on the UNC side, if you're all the angst about whatever. I don't like people being like, I want to see your Hubert David tweets from early in the season. Whatever, forget this. If you want the good for you right now is what has UNC had trouble with in the past, transitioning coaches, right? And obviously
going to class, doing things the right way, not cheating.
Yeah.
Obviously, Bill Guthridge made a Final Four in his first year.
Hold on.
That's not a problem transitioning to coaches. That's
all right.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with that?
There's concern about
transitioning coaches.
All right, maybe not a problem.
They had one bad coach.
Doherty.
One bad coach. Guthridge went to a Final Four.
All right.
Roy Williams won national championship. Shut the hell up with that revisionist history bullshit.
Doherty also
Carolina is fucking privileged as hell for you know they are.
Hold on. Real quickly.
Go ahead, BG.
Because I gotta bounce out of here in a second. One, Doherty got you Felton, McCants, and May. So the core of the 2005 title team. Last thing I want to say about this year's UNC team. It's funny that the losses to Miami and Wake Forest in the middle of the season are considered the nadir of this basketball enterprise, because it's Miami was just in the Elite Eight. They're super good. You lost on the road to them. That's not so bad. And then Wake Forest, I'm sorry, two NBA players, Alanis Williams and Jake Laravia, carved you up. But because they lost, it's such a funny slap in the face to Wake Forest. It's look, guys, we lost by that many points at Wake Forest. We almost had to just disband the program. But look, now we're in the Final Four. We're looking at it they made this just incredible transition in the span of 8 weeks or whatever. It's they lost one basketball game and then they kept playing basketball at that, because that's what literally happens every college basketball season. And I don't know, if I were actually a Wake Forest fan, I would be a little miffed by it, because they're looking at the loss in Winston-Salem, that was the turning point. Wow, we lost to these scrubs. Okay, we have to turn it around after that.
I can't tell Steve Forbes would take that as a compliment or as an insult, but I think he'd like that we're talking about it regardless.
Especially when you have a home loss to Pitt sitting right there, right?
Yeah. That too.
You do have an embarrassing loss on the.
It did feel weird. There was more hand wringing after the loss at Wake Forest and the loss at Pitt. The loss at Pitt seemed well, that's the loss at Wake. There was that might be who we are. The loss at Pitt against Pitt kind of felt all right, we know that's not who they are. Right? At least they were trying to tell themselves that.
All right, I got to bounce. I'm out.
All right, see you. All right, if the transitions have gone better than I said, at least there is angst when you change over a coach because you're not sure, right? And as non-UNC fans or anti-UNC fans, if I may paint you as that.
I can understand the uncertainty around bringing Roy Williams into coach here.
Not Roy Williams. The other three have been uncertain. Bill Guthridge, Doherty, and
yes, you got to your sixth choice, who was working at ESPN desk and had got fired at coaching Alabama. Yes,
the day Hubert Davis got fired, you can't tell me that you guys weren't yes, it's not somebody that we would be super worried about.
In that situation, it was more of a, your UNC. You probably could have got who you wanted. You stuck with Hubert, but there was never this at least for me, they still had players. I'm all about players and talent. Do you have good players on your team? And UNC's always going to have good players on their team, regardless if people want to, say compare it to Duke, where it's well, Duke's got 4 lottery picks. It's dude, that's true, but you have 2 NBA guys playing too. You have 5-star guys playing too. So
true, okay, but to your point, and that's kind of what I was.
And also, UNC fans were trying to act like they're the best program in the history of the planet, which again they might be, but a lot of their own fans were angry that they did not try to take a chance and get Brad Stevens. or Mark Few, like being like, we're Chesty, we're UNC, we could get this guy if we wanted to.
Yeah.
And we just got stuck with Hubert was kind of the feel of it.
Maybe. I have no idea if calls were actually made to Mark Few and they got the early he's at the bar, he's not going to be able to make it, or what. I'm not sure what shut that down, but no. But to your point, the number one thing that you worry the most about is being able to get players. That's the reason that Kay and Shire did the transition the way they did. And if there are negatives, I think Swain has pointed out, that's the number one thing, and that's going to be like the seamless transition. I think there is a little worry, like, will Hubert Davis be able to go get a dude that wants to be a first-round pick? He seems like a very nice guy. Seems like the guys who are on his team will love him. But the question is, can he get a lottery pick to come play? And I think if you're a UNC fan, you're like, sweet, now he's armed with a Final Four. I think that just makes him – he seems like a nice guy. Seems like a guy who, your mom would be like, yes, it seems like a nice man to send my young man to. And now he looks like he might be a winning coach. And it energizes, you get your pro players are out there talking about you, all that stuff. Whereas if he coaches his first 3 years and he has a year like this year, but it ends in the Sweet 16, and then he does it again the next 2 years, I don't know. Our lottery picks as doubt in. So that my whole point was when Swain was saying focus on the good of your program, I think for UNC you're like, oh hell yes. In the first year of a new coach, they went to the Final Four. That sets him up
but that's,
as best he can.
But you can't also play this card of like you shouldn't have been there or this is unexpected. That's the biggest issue for me. Like that is the number one. When I see UNC fans tweeting yesterday during the game of like, if we're up by 20, I feel good. Maybe you're just UNC and you're playing St. Peter's and you should be good to begin with. That's the biggest gripe I'm kind of having is this sense of we are the lesser team, the lesser program. We shouldn't be here. This is a surprise. And it's like, well, you should be there. And you usually are there. What's any different than now?
I guess just new coach. Can we talk about how did Kentucky lose to St. Mary's?
Or St. Peter's?
What's that?
St. Peter's. Yeah.
What did I say? St. Mary's? Yeah, St. Peter's. I don't understand how Kentucky lost. Did you guys watch Miami, Kansas?
No.
I did. It was
first half.
a little disappointing just because of the way that Miami was handling them. And McGusty, I feel like if he were on the Lakers right now, he would be a contributor. Like that dude just has NBA skill written all over him, similar to the way Banchero does when you watch him. But when McGusty's, it's like 18-foot pull-ups with dudes in his grill, and he's just got that NBA ability.
They had a couple of those series, like you know how like you're watching a team that probably shouldn't win the game, and then something goes against them, and you're like, oh, there's no way that they're going to come back from that. There's a play where I think it was McGusty actually drove the lane, might have gotten fouled, and there wasn't a call, and then Kansas came back the other way. Miami blocked the shot on the layup, but it went right to a Kansas guy.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's it. Like Miami should have had 2 points there. They should have stopped him on the other end, and Kansas ends up with a 3. And I think it pushed it to like 7 points. And you're just like, all right, that's the game. That's probably the last play that I saw, and it played out that way. Looking at the final score as well.
I was getting real fidgety thinking about if Miami made the Final Four and then UNC did. Like, if the ACC rolled in there with 3 out of 4 this year, it just would have been hilarious to see. I don't know. I feel like already last week, national media members were like, by the way, we weren't wrong about the ACC. This changes nothing. And you're like, okay, well, maybe adjust your metrics.
And I do feel like, I mean, this is kind of funny to say. I feel like Duke Carolina takes away from the attention on the ACC, right?
Sure.
Like if it had been Florida State and Miami, people would be talking about how good the ACC is because it's Duke Carolina. I don't think a lot of people see them as the ACC, right? I think
yes, true.
They're kind of their own standalone names. So yeah, Miami making the Final Four would have definitely been a huge boost for reputation versus just Duke and Carolina being in there. But it's still crazy to have 2 teams in the Final Four when everybody talked about how bad the league was this year.
Any other Duke UNC? Well, obviously, we got 2 more shows before the game starts. We'll have time to address some stuff.
For UNC, I mean, they're disappointed if they don't win Saturday, right? So remember I asked the question last week to you. It's like, is it a disappointment if you don't win? Make it to the Elite Eight? And I think you were like, yeah, but I mean, because a lot of the is there house money? That there shouldn't be house money. Are we cool
Okay,
with saying that?
there's a difference between house money and like it could be a both things can be true situation, right? Like, I mean, is Duke in a title or bust situation now? Maybe, but like,
I think so. Like,
They
I
always
think
are.
is
They
this,
always
season,
are.
is this season a failure if they lose to UNC?
No, there's two tiers of accomplishments. There's the Final Four, which is awesome, but then once you're there, you got to win, right? Like, there's not a single Final Four year that Duke went that they didn't win, that they weren't like, okay, that was awesome making a Final Four. They're there, but nobody looks back on those Final 4 years like, damn, that was a good run, man. Like that was a good season. People talk all the time about like, oh, K's had all these players and he's only won X amount of championship. Like it's a championship or bust situation every year for real basketball programs. And that to me is what makes me laugh about the house money conversation, because get the hell out of here with that. You cannot play. You play the game out in your mind and you're like, I'm going to make life living hell for every Duke fan I know if we win this game. But if we lose, house money, man, I'm going to be fine.
Sure.
No, it does not work that way.
That's fair, but there has to be room for, like you said, Final Fours get to count as like, sweet, now we get to add that to our banner. And when they tick off us as a blue blood, they'll be able to say X number of Final Fours, and you get to put that number up, right? So like that's all I'm trying to say. There's got to be some recognition of a season, but
let me explain it this way. I think where Final Fours come in is when you look at a program, right? Like you remember the program as X amount of Final Fours. Holy shit, that's impressive. But you remember individual teams by championships.
That's fair.
If you are at the level of Duke and Carolina, right? Like we're not talking about Georgia Tech making a Final Four.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, that was incredible. That team forever. We're talking about Duke and North Carolina making the Final Four. From an overall program point of view, you look at the total numbers. You're not remembering these are the years that we went to the Final Four but didn't win. It's just the total number of that. But the championship teams, those are the teams
you remember. That's fair. And again, that goes back to the point of why it's going to freaking suck if Saturday is an all-time amazing affair and somebody wins an overtime game and then they have to go lose by 7 in a 53-47 game on Monday night against Kansas.
Because I don't think either fan base realizes that the weight of, we beat our rival in the semifinals, but then we lost on Monday. That weight is not going to be there in the trash talk that you think it is moving forward.
Yeah, 100%.
That's going to be gone the first time Shire and Hubert play next year.
Yeah. If you win Saturday, yes, you advance further than the other team and you'll have that. But like you didn't win a title. If you don't win the title, it's not going to be the bragging rights you think it is. Who won the Kentucky-Louisville matchup in the Final Four? Kentucky?
Kentucky won, yeah.
And then did they win the final that year? Yeah. See, like I remember that being a huge deal at the time, but like I'm obviously not as into that final. But like I don't think that served as the bragging rights. That's not what I see Kentucky fans pulling out on Louisville all the time, right? Like they use the same old whatever they were talking trash about Louisville fans. It's the same stuff. It's not, we beat you the one time we met in the NCAA tournament and then we lost the title. Like that's just not an own as much as it feels like it might be now. But yeah. NC State women, we got to hit on. What time do they play Connecticut today?
7.
All right. Don't let me hear about this underdog NC State, number one, although they are officially the underdog in Vegas.
Technically are.
Yeah, what's the line?
I think it's like 3 or 4.
That's not bad, actually. I expected to be more than that.
Got to give a shout to. Did you guys watch the last game against? I can't even remember who they
Notre
played.
Dame. Yeah, that was pretty wild.
Did you watch the Notre Dame game?
Yeah,
it was freaking crazy, and just a total heads up play by Perez, both calculating that it was a smart risk because even if she normally if you go out of position to reach on somebody, you run the risk of them driving for a layup, right? And she knew even if I don't get the steal, that girl's probably just dribbling back around. Like she's not going to be aggressive and try and score. So it was a smart calculated risk. And even though if in today's world where every great sports moment becomes a T-shirt or whatever, the picture on the T-shirt or the poster or whatever should be the rip, her stealing the ball. Like that's the coolest part of the moment. But there is a great picture of that catches the background of the state bench while she's going in for the layup, and you see the face of the emotion of people that were like, 5 seconds ago we thought our season was pretty much over, and now 5 seconds later we're pretty sure we're going to win this game, and it's just an incredible emotion.
The path they have to go through is pretty. We've talked about this, just how winning this tournament is just insanely difficult. They will have gone through Notre Dame, who's won a title in the last 10 years, Connecticut, and that's without even getting to the Final Four. Actually playing the Final Four, and I think the Final Four would be Louisville, Stanford, and then South Carolina, which are all like recent champions or Final Four participants. It's insane.
All right, if State makes it to the Final Four and loses in the semis, are you going to be disappointed? Is that house money at that point, Goodson?
They haven't been there.
I know. I think
that's different. I think that's different.
Now,
it is
on a grand scheme. On a grand scheme, I will say the answer: they haven't been there enough to where you're disappointed yet. For this particular team, you probably say yeah, because you don't have the seniors coming back that they have. That it's like, hey, we've won two ACC tournament titles in a row. Let's run it back again. You don't bring all your people back and to set up making it here, and then when you get there, underperform. So I think it's fair to say this season is disappointing if they lose to Connecticut.
They needed a Final Four. They've done it all. They've 2 ACC titles, number 1 seeds, getting over the hump of the Sweet 16. But yeah, it's not a failure. I think that's a little harsh to put on people, but I think this season is disappointing if they don't make the Final Four.
I would agree.
Make the Final Four and play well and lose. I think they're at a program status where that's a very good year, and that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, if Connecticut wins as a 2 seed, are they talking about restoring their status as women's basketball elite?
You got to be at least an 8 seed.
Why does the media talk like that about UNC? Perm, you said you brought up a Jay Billis tweet about that he said UNC
Duke turned it around in 2 weeks.
Maybe I'm just like you said, and I could be totally. This could be totally fair. Maybe I see and only look for more UNC venom to fuel me, and I don't look for it from the Duke side of the world. But it just does not. You go straight to the News and Observer. The main headline is restoring something. There's nothing written about that regarding Duke, even though Duke just has not won a title as recently as Carolina. Had last year's team, a bad team did not make the tournament, right? We could say they weren't going to go anyway because of COVID, but they're not using those words of restore, redemption, or house money. I mean, is there a simple answer why it is? That's the media narrative on that is just that is just silly to me.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It does feel like.
One school has a pretty big journalism school. I think that has a lot to do with it. Let's be honest.
I do feel like, Swain makes the point of Duke and Kentucky are on another level, right? In college basketball, right? But it's maintaining that level is a little bit about you think this is me trying to take a dig, but I'm not. Maintaining that level is partly maintaining the aura that is Duke Kentucky basketball right now.
Oh yeah, the story's always bigger when those teams lose than when they win.
Yes, but and so this is where you think I'm going to make an insult, but
no, that's true.
To your point, Duke, when was their last title? 2015.
Yeah.
Why aren't they talking about Duke restoring things? Because it doesn't feel like Duke and Kentucky have to. Winning the title isn't the only way they maintain their dominance, right? They maintain their dominance by being the most talked about, by having the most guys in the NBA, all that stuff. So it doesn't feel like even in the years where they aren't winning titles, they're still the number one social media, all that stuff. So it doesn't feel like their program fell off, even though results-wise, you're well, technically this is one of the longer stretches Duke's had without a Final Four, right?
And it comes down to, and I know that you're going to make fun of me for saying this again, it comes down to the unwritten part of that, right? Restoring UNC's hoop status, the unwritten part of that is as being comparable to Duke. Like that is the unwritten part of that, right? And so the thing that makes me laugh more than anything in college basketball is thinking back to the Zion year when media people were asking, and again, this isn't Nas Little offering this up. He's being literally asked, Nas Little, are you sick of hearing about Zion Williamson? And then a camera, like, that is the inferiority complex that lives within these people that are not the athletes. Like Armando Bacot does not have an inferiority complex, right? Like he wants to win, but he does not feel like he's any less of whatever because Duke gets attention and he doesn't. But there are many, many, many people, many of them have jobs writing articles about college basketball who have this feeling inside of them that they're pissed off that the entire year has been a coaching legend in his last season. Why hasn't the attention been on these guys for some? So when they talk about restoring the status, it's restoring the status comparable to Duke, and that's where it comes from.
I'll sign off on that.
What's the UNC feel like with your buddies? You're in group, and we paint. I know we paint you as the UNC guy. Like for the record, you're not like the UNC people we are talking about for the most part, right?
I've never been on a UNC.
He was tweeting about referees on.
I will say I should have tweeted this out. It was who was the? I don't even know who the ref was that Kay was mad at, but he was mad at some ref in the first half. And I swear, every time the whistle blew, if the call was going for Duke, Ron Groover had to call, and if the call was going for the other dude, the other team, it was that one ref. The third ref wasn't even making calls. And it changed in the second half. In the UNC game, it was John Higgins, the guy that got a couple Kentucky guys in foul trouble in the 2017 game, and then Kentucky fans then I think they ruined his. I don't know, it was a car salesman or like HVAC repair. And it was like one of the first, like, hey, by the way, we can find his business and just wreck his reviews. And they did that. I think
it went to court.
Yeah, I think they sued. But he was working and he had a couple calls that were definitely like ticky-tack fouls against St. Peter's. And I was like, dude, Kentucky fans are Leonardo DiCaprioing, pointing at the screen right now, watching John Higgins get people in foul trouble. No, that was
what's the UNC group text feel?
I've got high school friends.
You guys need to read the Slack thread because 100%.
No, I got high school friends who went to UNC, and then people that I was like friends with in actual Chapel Hill, and I think they're very excited to play Duke. I think there's more. This is awesome. Then, oh my God, I can't handle this. Like, because again, like, I get, yes, if you're a UNC fan, it will suck if Duke wins. But what about your life? Like, are you literally gonna have to quit your job? Is your house literally divided? Like, what's gonna happen if you lose? Like, you have to want this game. And then the other part is, if you're a UNC fan, you've been cheering for whoever Duke's been playing the whole tournament, right? Like, obviously, you're pulling. You don't assume they're going to lose to Cal State Fullerton, but you're like, oh, maybe they can lose to Texas Tech, maybe they can lose to Michigan State, maybe they can lose whatever. But now it's like, all right, you get what you wanted. You wanted somebody to end Duke's season, and now you have the opportunity to do it. So either put up or shut up. I think that's how it is. That's right. We did the research. Our man. Away to Worthy, who is actually the research guy for ESPN. He said you needed to color in the stripes below Duke and UNC there a little bit, but otherwise you nailed it. We will see. Mark it down. At some point, somebody will pull a stat where they will find the exact number of years and games they need to go back to. Is it 47 years and 112 games, or is it 30? We will go back to a point in time where the points and wins got to be even. Points got to be within like two of each other. But if we can get them even, that'll be even better. We will find a way to make this completely even. But right now, 0-0 in the NCAA tournament.
And just to hit on this point again, this is literally the worst round for this to happen. Like,
it's so stupid.
It can't happen before the Sweet 16, right? Like legally, It cannot happen before the Sweet 16. seed wise, it's probably never going to happen in the Sweet 16 that you would have, a 1 and a 4, or like you would not put those two teams in the same bracket. It might happen as a 1 and 2. And if it happened in the Elite 8, that would be awesome because, again, you have an accomplishment that the other team doesn't have
Yes.
just for winning that game. Or if this is a championship, you have the ultimate accomplishment that the other team won't have. But again, like you win Saturday and you lose Monday, then it sucks.
Is New Orleans the best or worst place this could have been? Because I was trying to think of this from a like if you knew this was going to happen, like probably 10 years ago, this ticket may have been the biggest ticket in the history of sport.
Right.
I'm trying to sit here and think of like, yeah, UNC fans are going to try to go, Duke fans are going to try to go, but not 70,000 people are going to go, right? From not 70,000 Duke and UNC fans are going to make their way to New Orleans. So, I mean, is it a big enough draw in a city that there's going to be randoms that will like, I have to go to New Orleans to see this game?
Here's my take.
If it was Monday night, then the answer is probably yes.
Yeah.
But
There's no to me, no Final Four city has like that this feels like the place that should be hosting the final. Like they've gone to football stadiums, and so it feels there's no. The city becomes cool for your team. I feel like after you win it there, like UNC fans love St. Louis and Detroit, and Duke fans love Minneapolis, or I can't remember the other places where they've won. Like, I don't know what a cool Final Four. I'm sure media people who go every year will tell you like what's the better hotel setup or whatever for a Final Four, but I don't know. I don't get that much. I don't think the city affects it that much. I don't know.
Yeah,
New Orleans. Go ahead.
And like it's New Orleans. Like there's other stuff going on that people like. I think it's a cool place for a college football national championship because you have two teams, and I think that's what it comes down to me. Is that again why it kind of sucks that it's a Saturday game and not a Monday game? Is Kansas has a ton of fans that are going to go to the Final Four. Who do they cheer for during that game?
Yeah.
Like and also that game's going to be over, right?
They'll cheer for UNC, the Roy.
So I don't think so. I don't like you're in that situation and you're going to have probably. I would think that Kansas might have the largest section of fans there, and if they beat Villanova in that first game and they're just sitting there during the second game, who do you cheer? Like I don't know. I don't think the atmosphere is going to be as good as it could be otherwise,
right?
And you're not going to have. You're not going to have somebody. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a better situation, and it just comes down to if they played on Monday night, it'd be a lot cooler.
Yeah, I do think it was kind of cool the way it worked out in the tournament. The first two rounds, UNC was one of the first teams to play at all, and in fact, Saturday, starting the second round, they were literally the first team, right? And we talked about you get the pressure-free watching. Like when your team wins the first game of your round, you get to watch all the other games through the lens of my team's already advanced. And then it flipped the second round where Duke was playing first. And I thought it was kind of cool that both fan bases had to go through not only if we lose, we're out, but we already know that our rival advanced. It's like, damn, it's like double, I think, well, I don't even want to get into this because it'll start grilling me again.
No.
Yeah.
Get into it.
I think if UNC had been able to play first again, like they had been, there would have been a little more chestiness about the St. Peacocks game. I think the fact that Duke was already in there waiting made to be like, well, you look like an idiot if you are looking past say
a 15 seed in an Elite 8 game.
My point was, if it wasn't Duke waiting at the other end, UNC fans would have talked more about it. But if UNC was playing before Duke, then they'd be like,
UNC always wins that game. Like they don't. That's the ridiculousness of this.
Once it was like, what did it start at 7?
Once it started, once you figured out you're playing St. Peter's on Friday.
I turned to my wife and I was like,
at the tip off when you actually see who's on the other team and you realize they couldn't even get walk-on spots at Carolina.
Once St. Peter's won their game on Friday night, you're like, okay, we're going to the Final Four. Yeah, you should have felt like that.
It was exciting to see them win on Friday night and be like, well, now the UCLA game, the stakes just got raised a little bit. Anything else? We'll have Wednesday and Friday to talk about this game. Moose, you've been kind of quiet. You filling out your state application over there?
Absolutely. I've got my cover letter half written, Perm.
You're going to be like Bucky Waters. You're Duke and State. Didn't he played for one and coached for the other, or did he coach at both? I don't know, but you're currently under contract with Duke, and now you're going to try and get the state coaching job. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's no conflict. Yeah, I can do one sport and do the other. Completely different seasons.
I should have taken more. People have been answering questions. Sorry, I missed some of the comments. My bad. I was over there. Oh, because I did want to share what I thought was one of the best moments of the weekend, and that is, like you said, somebody made a reference to this, but one of the greatest moments of the weekend was Paolo Banchero being asked. I thought about this when you talked about who were Kansas fans cheering for. Paolo Banchero learned not to admit who you're cheering for. This was one of the greatest moments of the Final Four weekend. If you'll recall, the AC tournament, he was asked who he want, and he gave the honest, correct answer. We want UNC. Then his coaches were like, even if there is an honest, correct answer in that situation, this is what you do. And
you either play Cinderella St. Peter's or your rival, and you get another shot at North Carolina. Paolo, which one do you want?
You're not going to get me this time. But I'm just proud of my team. You know, we've been working since June for this, and it's really surreal that we're here right now, on our way to New Orleans for the Final Four. This is a dream come true, man.
Very cool moment. One of the best. I did state good.
The point made it better.
Yeah, there was a little bit of I did maybe off camera that maybe she mentioned that she was going to bring that because he looked like maybe knew it was coming. Doesn't matter. It was a perfect moment regardless. I also thought it was cool. I should have it, but I had it up on my Twitter. There's the Hubert Davis not even be able to talk in the post game because he was crying was cool. But to me, it was even cooler when he was still on the sideline and like still composed. It clearly looked. I don't know if he saw Roy or somebody in his family or somebody, and it hit him like, you're going to the Final Four, and he just like kind of broke down and lost it, and his assistant coach hugged him. You mentioned the moments of K post Michigan State. I mean, K looks totally unburdened by he looks like he was carrying 200-pound weights when he was walking around Cameron at the final game. When he and you were like, wow, he looks now like he's jumping around, and it's just cool to see. Cool.
The one that jumped out to me was the Texas Tech game during the game when Jeremy Roach runs out of bounds to save a ball and runs into the referee. And they catch Coach K looking at the ref, and he's smiling, and he like does like the block and points to the ref during the game.
Yes.
That's just like, you're right, man. You haven't seen that stuff out of K in forever. And like, you know, if you I've obviously had the benefit of seeing him outside of basketball and also just like being at basketball camps growing up and stuff like that. That's the like loose, funny guy that you see that you never see on camera. And it's a different, totally different vibe.
For me, there was a moment one time where maybe they had given, I can't remember if it was the UCLA game, but like Hubert just looked like a coach as opposed to like a guy you're not sure is the coach. There was a moment they had given up a couple plays in a row. It was like, oh no, do they need to call a timeout? And he just did, call the play or whatever. And it was a cool, like, that dude looks like he's not coaching in his first year in the NCAA tournament. So just a lot of cool moments. And sorry for your NC State. Well, the state women are still in it. Everybody's still got a team. But we've said before, we're freaking lucky in this part of the country because it happens so often. But the NCAA tournament is just that much more fun when your team is still in it. Like, I loved watching Miami, Kansas last night. Much more just because you knew UNC and Duke were still in the game. It makes it that much more fun. So we'll keep breaking it down here. Check the podcast out. It'll drop about half an hour or an hour after this. Sometimes it takes the internet's a little bit to work it up. Anything else, boys? UNC Duke, the world's not going to melt down. It's going to be okay, and it's going to be really good.
We're doing USA Costa Rica pregame on Wednesday, right?
There we go. What is this? Oh, nice.
That's a tweet from the Bulls earlier today talking about
trying to get everybody's going to be trying to get their clicks in, baby. It's going to be Content City trying to get it in. So keep it tuned.
Any politicians jump in?
Oh yeah. Oh, we got like primaries coming in a couple weeks.
This is the week you need to be asking politicians like, hey, who you got winning the championship?
Right.
Who got winning the championship?
Watch
This
them
is the
dance.
week they can't hedge.
Watch them dance. Like, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy the Final Four and then cheer for the Canes in the playoffs, baby. That's the answer right there. It's like, I'm just going to enjoy this Final Four and go Canes. That's the Roy Cooper way to be a political fan. All right. For Ben Swain, for the Weather Moose, for Brian Geisinger, Josh Goodson, everybody came in on a Monday. The world's not going to melt down. We're just going to get a great game. We'll enjoy it. Keep it tuned to Sports Channel 8. We out.
Sports, when you've got a great ball club. Sports, when you're leaving it all on the field. Sports, you like your team's chances. Sports, to survive and advance in sports. For the teams you love and the teams you love to hate. Oh, it's Sports Channel 8. Yeah. Sports Channel 8. Hey! Hey! Hey!